So we've all been there. You drop a single and it does well for a bit. Then it goes into the great void that is Spotify, whatever platform, streaming platform you listen to. Or rather, you release an album and it just takes ages to gain traction. That's where the waterfall release strategy comes in.
You're listening to the Inside the Mix podcast with your host, Marc Matthews.
Hello folks, welcome to the Inside the Mix podcast. If you are a producer or artist interested in learning a potentially smarter way to release your music, this episode could well be for you. We are diving into the waterfall release strategy, and I discovered this strategy in conversation with Jay Gilbert of the Your Morning Coffee podcast back on episode 130. The general idea behind this strategy is to maximize exposure, increase engagement, and grow your audience with every release. So by the end of this episode, you'll have a step-by-step guide of how to implement this strategy, whether you're dropping your first single or planning an album or EP rollout. So we've all been there. You drop a single and it does well for a bit. Then it goes into the great void that is Spotify, whatever platform, streaming platform you listen to. Or rather, you release an album and it just takes ages to gain traction. That's where the waterfall release strategy comes in. The idea behind the waterfall release strategy is to gain momentum. So you drip feed releases over time. And I've been doing this with my recent releases. So I did this with Waves, Separation, and 4-minute warning. So it started with Waves, and then I re-released Waves with Separation, and then I re-released Waves and Separation with 4-minute warning. And then I've got another one to go after that as well. So I'm very much in the stage of experimenting with this release strategy at the moment. I'll give you my feedback on how it's gone so far at the end of this episode. So what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to break down the actual waterfall release strategy step by step using DistroKid. But you can use whatever platform you use to distribute your music. I use DistroKid, hence why we're going to be using it today. And I'll also go through some common mistakes to be aware of, learn from the mistakes that I have made along the way. So by the end of this episode, you will have a strategy that could well help you gain momentum, grow your audience, and just continue and build engagement with your fans/audience as well. So let's dive in. So here we are in DistroKid. I'm in the upload page. And for this strategy to work, you would need to have already released at least one single. Now I've released 3. So I'm going to go through the process I would now go through for that 4th single, which is untitled, so I'll just come up with a random name. So the first things first, number of songs, it's going to be 4. I'm going to enable Snapchat because I own the 100% of the publishing. Has the album been previously released? No, it hasn't, and it's my name. Okay, so all this is already pre-filled out because I have released previously. So it's got my Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc. My release date, set when your release date is. So let's go. This is the 8th of March today. I'm actually, at the point of recording this, I've got a song that's dropping on the 21st. So let's say I am sticking to my 6-week release cadence that I want. So what are we there? It's 21st, 1, 2, so that's 4, 3, 4, 5, 6. Forgot how to count them. 2nd of May, let's say. Release time, I always leave it as is with the recommended, not bothered about that. Time synchronization, leave it as is well. Obviously, you can change all these settings here to suit the way you release. Record label, put in your label if you've got one. I'm just going to leave that blank. Album price, I'm just going to price it at $4.99. Actually, no, I'm going to do $3.99 because it's 4 tracks. So just under £1 each. Language is English. Primary genre, select your genre. So let's say it's, I've been going with dance lately. Actually, it's house on here. No, let's go electronic. And then I want house. So where are you? I'll just put electro house. Secondary genre, let's just go with dance. Then this is where you would upload your album cover. Obviously, this is going to be the album cover of the latest song. So this will be the album artwork for the 4th release. Okay, give it a title. So I'm going to call this the title of the 4th song. So I'm just going to call this, very interesting, My 4th Song. Here we are. And I'm going to take that and then I'm just going to copy that into song 1 like so. So this is the 4th and new song. So add featured artist to song title, no. Obviously this is going to change. This is subjective to whatever you're releasing. Add version. No, this is a normal version. Then I would upload the audio. And I'm not going to click on already have an ISRC, but we will in a minute. So I'm going to let DistroKid sort that out for me. Spatial audio, no. Is it a cover? No. Music and lyrics, I did all that. So I'm going to stick my name in there. Boom. And explicit, no. Is this a radio edit? No. Is it an instrumental? Let's say it's not. And let streaming services decide the preview clip. Happy with that. And the track price at 99 cents. So happy with that. So that's the first song. So it is basically uploading an entirely new song. But for the next 3 songs, it's where it gets slightly different. So let's scroll down. So song title number 2. Let's say this is my 4-minute warning, which was the most recent song I released. So I'll put 4-minute warning in here. Warming for the song title. And basically, what I now select in this description for track 2 of 4-minute warning has to be exactly the same as it was for the previous release. And you have to do this for tracks 2, 3, and 4. It has to be exactly the same. Can't stress that enough. Exactly the same. Okay, so I can remember, no, don't show any other artists. No, this is the normal version. And I already have an ISRC code. So this is where I'm going to duplicate my DistroKid page here. And hopefully it will work fine. Let's go back to the top. And I'm just going to go to My Music. And then if I go to 4-minute warning, I can see there's my ISRC codes for 4-minute warning, separation, and wave. So I'm just going to copy that for 4-minute warning. Go back over to DistroKid for the new release and paste that in there. So copy and paste your ISRCs. And I'm going to do that. I won't do it in this example. I'm not going to go through each track, but I would do that for 4-minute warning, separation, and waves. And I'm going to do it in the order that it is here as well. So it's going to go track 2 is 4-minute warning, track 3 is separation, track 4 is waves. And I'm going to copy the ISRC codes across into here. So it's important that you select, I think I'm going to have to scroll down to get it exactly right, already have an ISRC. Okay, and then everything else, again, is going to be the same. So songwriter's name is me. Okay, no explicit lyrics. The song contains lyrics. Yes, it does. And then track price. But of course, we also need to upload the audio. So this is really important here. So this audio needs to be the same audio, essentially. I would just, to belt and braces approach, just use the exact same file that you used originally. Just, as I say, for that belt and braces approach. And the easiest way, I think, to do this is that in DistroKid in particular, and I'm going to hazard a guess and say you can do this in other distros, but if you go up to the top, it's kind of like 4 dots or 4 squares or something. If you go to protect your music and you've got Vault, okay, and then I've got 4-minute warning, and then if I click on that release, I can actually download that WAV file that I used, well, I uploaded originally. You can also get the ISRC code in here as well. That way, I know if I download this, it's exactly the same as the original upload. So that's what I would select as my audio file for this. So go to the DistroKid Vault, download the original file, and then upload that as your audio file. That way, like, there's no room for error in theory. So then we move on to the next track. In this instance, it's going to be track 3. So this would be my one called Separation. I think I spelled separation wrong. No, that looks right. I'm just going to double check. Let's go back. Separation. Yeah, I did spell it right. So a word that always gets me. Add featured artist, no. Then no again to add version, separation. Already have an ISRC? Yes, I do. So I could use the Vault in this instance. Click on separation here. Copy that ISRC and stick that in there. And remember, download the audio file from the Vault for separation, title separation. In fact, yeah, I'll use that original one. It's going to be the same. I mean, I could go back to the original separation release and download that one, but it's the same audio file. Upload that and then go through the same process again as we did with the other 2 tracks, basically. And then do the same for track 4 with waves. And that's it, basically. That is how you create the Waterfall release. So track 1 is the new track, and then I'm re-releasing essentially tracks 2, 3, and 4. And then when I do the 5th track, I'd then be re-releasing my 4th song, in theory. So that's a whistle-stop tour of how to do it in DistroKid. So my experience with this strategy so far is as follows. I re-released waves with separation. And then at the point of releasing, well, rather recording this episode, 4-minute warning is going to be the new release with waves and separation. I noticed a bump in streams for waves at the time of releasing separation. Ultimately, separation did better and has surpassed, in terms of streams, it has surpassed waves. So is that testament to the song being better, or is that testament to the algorithm of Spotify recognizing my release cadence? I'll know for sure, I think, once I've released 2 or 3 more songs using this strategy. Then I'll be able to see a much clearer picture. Okay, has this release cadence benefited me? Is Spotify now jumping on my music and pushing it out to more people because I'm releasing more? Or is it just this a better song? Could be that, to be fair. I mean, in terms of interaction and audience engagement, I probably got more with separation than I did with waves. On the negative side of this, it's made my Spotify catalog a bit weird in terms of, it's just, when you look at it, you can see the same release and then again and again and again. I mean, I could go back and delete the original releases, I guess, but I'm not going to. So it might look a bit odd for someone looking at my entire catalog, but ultimately I'm not really worried about that, to be honest. If you are, then I suppose you could go back and then delete the old releases. But so far, it has been of benefit, I think. But I'll know more further into this journey in 2025. If you go back and listen to episode 185, I think it is, that's my first assessment of my release strategies this year. So it could be of interest if this episode has been of interest to you. One other key point I didn't mention, and I probably should have mentioned right at the beginning, is that the idea is we are building to an EP or album release. My advice, and I'm not an expert by any stretch in music marketing or this particular strategy, to be honest, but it makes sense to have the songs related to each other. There needs to be some sort of relationship. It doesn't make sense to me in my head to just have random songs released and build into this waterfall strategy. Again, we're building towards an album release or an EP release, so there needs to be some sort of relationship. And obviously, this doesn't mean that you don't need to do the normal marketing that you would usually do and the branding and everything else surrounding that. So it's not a silver bullet. I hate to use that term. And I wouldn't even know if it is anyway, because I've only just started using it. So as a quick summary, we're using the waterfall release strategy to re-release previous singles to build towards an EP or an album. And I showed you how to do it with DistroKid. Make sure the metadata for the re-released tunes is exactly the same as is the audio file as well. And just be aware that it can convolute your streaming platform catalog a little if you use this particular strategy. But the idea is that we are going to gain momentum. We're going to increase that release cadence. Ideally, hopefully, the Spotify algorithm will jump on it as well. And we're going to continue to build and grow that audience. So, folks, hopefully this has been of use to you. If you are interested in using the waterfall release strategy, let me know your thoughts in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, or DM me at Inside the Mix Podcast with your experience using this strategy, or maybe someone you know who has used it, whether it's good, bad, or anywhere in between. I'll see you in the next episode.